Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphanlast, aka Skylar Madison, and today I'm coming at you with the BroDraws art collaboration video that I actually promised would be coming out last week. However, I released the animatic for my collapsible windows presentation last week, and it would have been airing on YouTube around the same time as that, and that was a really well-performing video, and I didn't want to basically eclipse this video with that other video that was basically going to outperform this video. And simply because BroDraws art, okay, his channel, okay, if you haven't seen his channel, like, a link is supplied in the video description below, and I'm telling you, you'll do yourself a favor just by clicking on that link and taking a look at what he's got. Because if you click on the videos tab and look at the artwork-centric videos that he's got some really good content. He'll start out a drawing with some super rough-looking sketch, and then he'll pull out the color pencils, and then he'll make it photorealistic, or super highly stylized and such like that, and it looks great. All of his work is perfect, and you know, fairly recently he's actually not only agreed to do this collaboration with me where I draw out an image. In this case, I'm inking an image that I drew out about a year ago, and I want to see how he would color this image, and so the idea is that I'm going to send over this image to him, and since he likes to work with colored pencils, I'm going to lower the opacity of all of the line work so that he can just use his colored pencils, and by the end of the video it'll be like his normal colored pencil work, where by the end of the video the only thing that really shows is his color work. And I want to see that with this image because this is kind of like a favorite image of mine that I kind of made at the early stage of me starting the YouTube channel. I'm going to send it over to him, he's going to color it, and he's supposed to have a video where he's drawing out an image, and then he's going to send over that image over to me, and then I'm going to spend hopefully just one video coloring it. If it takes me longer, then it takes longer. I find that for me it takes a long time to color because you're not just drawing lines on the screen. With coloring, you have to make sure that every single pixel is covered with color, and it's time consuming. And then by the time that you're done, you need to make sure that there's no weird oversights that you missed. And so by the time that this is done, what our plan is that he's going to send over a signed print, and I'm going to send over a signed print of the colored artwork made by, like, the colored artwork that BroDraws sent me that I colored. I'll send that over to him, and then this image right here that he colored, he'll send it over to me, signed print and all that. And that in and of itself is probably going to be another video in and of itself. So a bare minimum of 3 videos of dealing with this collaboration where all that good stuff. So not only this, but BroDraws art has also he mentioned one time fairly recently, like soon after we started talking about this collaboration, he said, "You want to work on a comic strip?" And I thought, dang, dude, I've had so many different people ask me that question, and I think this is the right guy to ask me that question. So I said yes. And actually, I've been working on a comic strip. Actually, I've been working on 2 stories. Now, the picture that you see me drawing is centered on one of the stories, and you guys kind of let me know what you think. Right now I'm kind of bouncing around in my head, kind of thinking, well, I could make it the comic strip about this or this other story. So let me talk about the story that's oriented around the image that you see me drawing right now, or at least inking right now. Basically, the world, there are no governments. There are just corporations and such like that. And the main building that's in the center of this image, really tall building, it's the main headquarters for Apex International, which, like I said, there are no governments, there are just corporations. So this is an extremely powerful government, basically. And they produce what's called nanites. Now, if you guys have seen Cody Banks Agent Cody Banks. I guess you know what nanites are. But you'd know what they are more accurately if you've seen things like Star Trek or Stargate or Inner Space or just stuff like that. And nanites aren't necessarily things that eat away every material that they come in contact with. They can do a lot of different things. They're just microscopic machines. What they do is programmable. And so just think about it. If you had millions of little nanites running through your body, in your bloodstream, flowing through your brain and such like that, with it, like if there was enough people participating with a case study with a number of different types of potential illnesses, possibly even cancer, and other people with like brain illnesses with the brain and etc., eventually every single mystery of the human body within a short period of time, a number of years, months maybe, all of the mysteries of the human body, the brain, everything would be completely discovered. Like, we'd understand it all. And the idea is that these nanites are able to create a hub inside of your brain, and you're able to communicate directly to them. And through that, basically, you're able to just tell the nanites, hey, I'm eating this tub of ice cream. I don't want to... that's too many calories. Just send it through. So that you don't really consume any calories, you don't get fat off of that sort of thing. They'll monitor things like, okay, well, we've noticed that you've accumulated more sunlight than most people throughout the day. Would you like to photosynthesize in the future? And if so, how do you want to photosynthesize in order to gain energy from the sun? Do you want to photosynthesize like a plant, or do you want to photosynthesize like something like a solar panel? There are positives and negatives to either one. And, you can seriously augment yourself with these nanites and such like that. So, kind of an interesting idea. I really like the world that I've kind of created with it. I've actually written out, I guess it's a short story. It's something that I never really finished it, but it was compelling, and every once in a while my thoughts kind of drift towards it. And so that's what this picture that you're seeing me ink is all about. This world that has nanites in it, and where there's just no governments, just corporations and such like that. I don't want to talk about too much of the details or anything, otherwise I wind up running into spoilers. Not only that, but there are problems with the narrative of the story that I've encountered, such as the nanites. You think about it, and they can kind of make you overpowered, way overpowered. So in order to rectify this problem, I've kind of contacted somebody to help me out in creating a role-playing game centered around this story, which means that ultimately I need to have, instead of like fantasy and such like that, you have a hard magic system. Like Lord of the Rings didn't have a hard magic system, so when Gandalf dies, in my opinion, it makes no sense, because magic should have saved him, and if it didn't, there was never any explanation as to why magic failed to save him. Then he comes back from the dead just because, and then he can kill half an orc army just by screaming in bright light. Okay, so Lord of the Rings to me doesn't make much sense, whereas Full Metal Alchemist, that's more of a hard magic system. Now, in my case with nanites and such like that technology, I need to have a hard nanite system. What they can do, what they can't do, how long it takes for them to execute tasks and such like that. And so that needs something like the structure of a role-playing game in order to accomplish. And that's going to take time to do, and I'm pretty sure BroDraws Art wants to work on this a little bit sooner. So on the flip side, on Newgrounds, I have this buddy that is willing, it just keeps talking to me, and we keep talking about philosophy and such, and so this kind of gets me thinking about another project. It's an idea that I had in 2004 and early 2005, and basically I wanted to create something that felt like The Matrix initially, but it wound up not being anything like that at all. Instead of it being an action genre, it would wind up being something more like a philosophical, existential drama is basically what it would be, which is kind of unique. It's very difficult to articulate in summary, like to summarize the very idea of what this comic book idea could be. But basically, think of it this way, like the main character dies and goes to, I guess, heaven. Let's just say that, okay? What would you find there? And such like that. What would you expect to find there? And what sort of existential questions exist after you go to heaven? That sort of thing. Like, okay, so we accept that we exist on Earth, okay, hypothetically, because, again, hypothetically, God created us or something. And that seems to suffice for a lot of people, okay? But then you die, you go to heaven. What's to stop you from asking what? What now? Why? Why do I exist at this point? And these are just little thoughts that have occurred to me throughout time, throughout my entire life. And, you know, what could possibly be the answers and such like that. And I'm not really trying to create any sort of religious ideology with this comic. It's just a series of ideas and such like that. There's a lot of Buddhist derivative ideas that I've kind of tinkered with a little bit. Like, man, it is really difficult to describe that comic. Here's some ideas. Basically, heaven inside of the comic is called the objective timeline because, you know, it's objective truth versus subjective truth. So this is an intelligent comic book that actually does use official terminology when it comes to philosophy and such, and metaphysics and etc. So basically, the main character finds himself in the presence of this community of people that call themselves observers. And what they do is they wind up playing around with the timeline on Earth and all that, and they keep changing it, but they save each change. So there's thousands of different versions of the timeline. And sometimes they wind up finding a really interesting story that happens inside of the timeline, and they decide, I want to reincarnate as that. And so they press play, and they're born as that particular person that experiences that interesting story. They live, they die, and then they wake up inside of this objective timeline. And, they're able to use that accumulated knowledge from that prior life to hopefully maybe discover the whole reason behind the objective timeline and such like that. So I'm kind of interested. I'm saying all of this because these are the two ideas I have for a comic strip. And the second story, the one where the character goes into the objective timeline, the story is actually already, I could start writing that story right now without much of a hitch. Whereas the other story, the story that the picture that you're looking at is centered on, that I don't think I'm ready for, because the main character would be ungodly powerful, and just the story wouldn't be interesting because you'd never believe that the main character is in danger. And so that's my main concern with telling that story. Whereas with the other story, the story about the character going into the objective timeline or heaven or whatever you want to call it, it just, it's kind of interesting. So, BroDraws art. If you've listened, if you've watched this video here, let me know which one of these two projects do you want to work on. Now, if you have your own ideas, if you have your own project, your own comic strip with a story that you'd kind of like to work with, that sounds cool. We can write it together if you want. But I kind of have some things that I've thought up already if you're interested. So, if you could give me that feedback, that'd be much appreciated. And I'm also kind of talking to the subscribers as well. I'm also interested in what you guys have to say about it. I'm going to actually go on to Reddit, and I'm going to post about this, asking what you guys would want to see. The sci-fi sounding story with the nanites, it's called Blight, B-L-I-G-H-T, and the other one, the working title is Fortune's Event, where the character winds up going to, I guess, heaven for those of you that aren't really familiar with the ideas that I have for this comic book, so that works for now. Also, I've said a long time ago that I've been planning on starting a series on YouTube where I ask the audience what they want me to draw. And so you guys can go ahead and go into the comment section down below, leave a comment saying what picture you want me to draw. If you have some sort of image that you've personally drawn that you would like to see me draw a rendition of, I can do that as well, as long as they're not things that are copywritten or like family photos or like a picture of your girlfriend or something like that. I'm not interested in that sort of thing. But if you have something that you want me to draw, then feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'll put that on Twitter and get people to vote on what it is that they would want to see me draw. I'm thinking about calling it something like the Subscriber Drawing Series or something like that. Something that might, I don't know. Leave a comment down below what sort of title you think would be really catchy for that series, where I'm drawing the pictures of people's requests and such like that, like subscriber request art, like drawing. I don't know what to name that series. So if you have an idea as to what I could call that series that's marketable, that would grab people's attention, feel free to leave a comment down below as well on that as well. So just feel free to just comment away, because there's a lot of stuff that I want some feedback on with this. Anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, please like, share, and subscribe anyways. There's a lot of work that goes into these videos. And if you'd like to take a look at any of my other videos, feel free to click on any of them that are appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.